Alright, so real quick before we bring this into Unreal Engine 4, I kind of want to work on the texture just real quick for a bit because I don't like how splotchy that is or how solid. That just doesn't look right. And so I believe that's this layer here. Yeah. And alright, if we come into the mask editor, I'm going to try bringing the global balance down to maybe 6.9. Yeah, yeah, that looks good. That looks good to me. Alright, and one or two things I just tried out real quick off camera that I sort of liked. I added this new fill layer with, I believe it's actually the same as this one, the ground dirt smart mask on a fill layer. Roughness is cranked, and all I really did here was I came in here to texture 2 and set it to invert and started kinda cranking it up, and actually started eating into the texture 1. If I turn this down, see it comes back kinda thick and patchy. But since I've inverted texture 2, if I start bringing it back up, it'll actually start to eat into texture 1. And I also added a fill layer with a edge damage or edge scratch. No, I think it was edge damage. An edge damage filter. I did name it edge damage. And I didn't really tweak it that much. All I really did there was I set the height to negative 0.15. And generally, if you want anything to really like affect the mesh visually and affect the lighting, you need to have it adjust the height here. Kinda like that. It's also got this color. I'm not sure I want it to affect the color, honestly. It just doesn't look right. I think I just want it on the height channel. You might be able to play around with the color, get it looking right. I mean, if it looked more like the wood. If it didn't look so solid. No, it just doesn't look right. Just, not gonna worry about that though. I think the crate, kinda as it stands, looks pretty solid. I don't think any of our sorted dirt down here is too solid and splotchy. I mean, a crate really shouldn't be like the centerpiece of a game anyway. So I think we've probably over-engineered this thing quite enough. So now, if we come to File and Export Textures, select our config template, which I'm going to be using Unreal Engine 4 Packed, which is probably what you want to use. I believe the SSS stands for subsurface scattering, which we will not be taking advantage of. And if you click on configuration, you can come in here and see what they're doing and even make your own config. And what this is doing is basically it's taking our base color and just making that texture. The normal map will be an RGB texture. We don't have an emissive channel. And it's packing our occlusion, roughness, and metallic all into a single texture inside the R, G, and B values. So our occlusion is going to be in the red R channel. The roughness will be in the green, and metallic here in the blue. And I'm going to export it as an 8-bit PNG with dithering checked on. And export. And you can click that box and choose where you want to export it to. That's probably good to know, good to use. But now we're going to head back while that's finishing up. Come into Blender. And we are going to set up our LODs. And actually the first thing I want to do is I want to save our crate base, because this is going to be like a backup copy. So if we mess something up or we want to go back and make changes, we've always got that. So I'm going to duplicate it. And this one I'm going to select everything. Or I'm going to try. Don't know why that didn't. Select everything and Control J to join. Okay. That time it went. I'm going to rename this Crate LOD 0. And I'm going to rename this collection to UE4 export. Get rid of that thing. Alright. But now, if we want Unreal Engine to properly import all our LOD variants, we are going to have to use a sort of convoluted method, unless we want to export a separate FBX file for every LOD and then import them all one by one, which is just kind of tedious. So instead we're going to create an empty. Just give me an M. No, not lattice. Okay. Alright, yeah, plain access, that's fine. Doesn't matter. And the name for this doesn't matter, so YOLO. But the part that does matter is if we come down here to Object Properties, we're going to need a custom property. And that is going to be the property name will be FBX underscore type. The property's value will be LOD group. And I'm not exactly sure, but I do believe in this exact capitalization with nothing capitalized in the property name and this little underline here, and LOD group with just the L and the G capitalized. And I'm going to hit OK, and that looks right. And this little custom property here is going to be the thing that tells Unreal this is our LOD group. A little unusual, but that is the method we have. And so now I'm going to select the create LOD and then select our empty, hit Control P, set parent. I'm actually going to move I'm beginning to think I parented those backwards. I thought it. Select that and that. Okay, yeah. Select create, then the empty, and parent them. Not quite sure what I did there to get the empty parented to the object, but this is the way you want it. And now creating our LODs from here should be pretty simple. I'm going to duplicate LOD0, and I'm going to call this LOD1. And I'm going to set the bevel segments on the bevel modifier to 1. And what that's done is basically, you see our triangle counts about 20,000, which is a little heavy for a crate, but this is our sort of hero LOD. And here, it's 11,000 now, because we reduced the bevel segments. And we are going to do that again. This time we're just going to get rid of the bevel modifier. So now we have a 5,000 triangle version, but no bevel, so now it's got these straight edges, but the idea is this should be seen far away, so you shouldn't really be able to tell. And we're going to go for maybe one more LOD level. LOD 3. And LOD 3 is going to get a decimate modifier. And with this one, we're going to pull the ratio down. And it's going to start deleting vertices. And basically we want to delete it, until, if we go too far, you can see it completely destroys the mesh until we're left with nothing but one triangle per object, which is clearly not what we want. We want this to still be a pretty good representation of our object, so let's try 0.3. And that seems pretty fair. And that brings our triangle count down to 1,500, which isn't really bad at all for a prop like this. And I wonder, should we try to get a 4th LOD working? I kind of want to. I kind of want to see. Yeah, that's kind of jank. Okay, but if we pull it down to 1.5, that actually doesn't look too awful. Oh wait, 0.15, not 1.5. Yeah. So that doesn't look too bad. I was thinking that looks way too good. Something must be wrong. Yeah, we just put all the vertices back. But that might not be too bad for like a far off distance, and that's only 700 triangles. That's not bad at all. And I think just for lols, really, we'll see how well this works out. Might be useful as like a super long distance stand-in. Or if nothing else, they'll just show us our LODs are working really clearly. So I'm going to parent the cube. So that cube here, guess I'll need to move it up one. And maybe make it this x dimensions 2 by 2. Alright, there. Now we're matching the shape pretty perfectly, and I'll apply all that. Okay. And I'm going to call this create LOD 5. I'm not sure if these last two, especially, are going to actually work out, but we'll see. So we're going to export these out as an FBX. And we're just going to make sure we have apply modifiers, apply transform, selected objects, and custom properties now, since we're using a custom property to identify our LOD stack here, LOD group. And I'm going to export this out as create underscore LODs. Alright, and head into Unreal. I've got the create underscore LODs right here. Gonna bring that in, going to make sure that combine meshes is checked and import mesh LODs is checked. Other than that, the default settings should be good enough. And I expect this will work. It should complain about no smoothing groups, but that really doesn't matter for us. And if I double click into here, should be able to see we've got LOD 0, 1, 2, and then 4. It's looking kind of bad, and then 5. Nice cube. Okay, so it's imported in, all our LODs are there, that's all good. Now let's grab those textures. And they should be wherever you set your Substance Painter export destination. I have mine set to my crate folder in the textures subfolder. So just bring those in, create a material. I'm going to call it crate underscore mat. Open that up, select our 3 textures and bring them in. And I'm going to separate these out just a bit. And I'm going to hook up the RGB from our color texture, which is this one, into base color. And our normal map, I'll hook up the RGB to the normal section here. And then this, I will go red to ambient, green to roughness, and blue to metallic. And I'm going to click on our crate in the content browser here, and then click on this button on the far right, which will change our preview mesh to our crate. Pretty good, pretty cool. So that seems to have worked. Yeah. Okay, fun times. keep having issues with OBS crashing. I don't think it likes me being inside of Unreal Engine and having the ray tracing on and trying to record at the same time. But hopefully we should have the material all hooked up like this. Only thing kind of complicated here is the combo texture here, with the occlusion being the red channel, green being our roughness, and blue being our metallic. But once that's all done, we should be able to click apply and save. And then if we come into our main thing here, drag in our crate, which is pretty big, and then drag in our material. There we go. Perfect. And we can run around, we can jump on it, we can run into it. If we had actual gameplay, we could maybe do something more interesting with it, but for now it's just quite possibly the best looking crate to ever be in Unreal Engine. So that is pretty cool. I like that. It is kind of big, so we could make sure to grab all of them, scale it down to about there, or we could go even further and scale it down to about there. And now that's so small, if we zoom out, see how it's turned all weird there? Or that is the cube we tried to make into an LOD, and that does not look like a crate. I mean, maybe it looks like a crate from like way back here, really far. Yeah, I mean, I can't really tell anymore. So like, if we set the distance to something crazy, like back here, then that could work. That could be a good optimization at that point. But generally, we're going to want to stay around, what is it, our LOD4? I believe LOD4 was still good, and I just need to set the crate material in there. Alright. And yeah, crate material, LOD4 still looks really good, even though it's 700 triangles, 1600 verts. It's still really good. Not as good as LOD0, which isn't as good as LOD1, but close. And then LOD2, still pretty good, but not as good. LOD 0 and 1, definitely you want to be the ones for if you're right up on it. And our cube, well, yeah, that's our cube up close. No. No. Now, we could make the cube better. Believe it or not, we could improve upon this somehow. One thing that might be kind of easy to do that'd make this a whole lot better. Maybe we just use like a flat planar UV projection in Blender. Or maybe we can make it its own material and we just make it like brown. That's an option too. We could just make it like brown or something. That would be kind of easy. But I don't know. You might not need an ultra low poly cube ever. It depends on your game, really. You know, are you going to have these crates visible to the player? Because if the player's not looking at it, Unreal will cull it or not render it, so it doesn't matter. But if they're going to see it, and if they might see it from like a mile away, you might not want to render 700 triangles. You know, you might want a cube that is brown. But yeah, I think that's not going to be something we worry too much about right now. I don't know. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I like that cube. Not the cube, the crate. I like that crate. It's a nice crate. And if we want to, we could just come in here and into Blender, scale the cube down, make it like a reasonable size. We'd probably want to do that for all of them though, honestly, all of them together. So if we can manage to select all of these, then scale it down, just scale them like maybe like 1 meter. I don't know, I mean, how big is a crate? I don't know. I'm gonna try half. We'll try half. I'll scale it down to half. And then I'm going to apply that scale. I'm gonna export it. Or you know what? No, I'm gonna not export the cube. I'm gonna select everything but the cube. Because the cube, that cube didn't work. We don't need the cube. Cube's making our life hard right now. So I exported that, and I'm gonna see if this works. I'm gonna try just using Unreal's really convenient re-import, which has completely destroyed everything. Okay, I think the problem is it's still, apparently that did not wipe the cube, so it's still got that dumb cube. Well, okay. In that case, I'm going to force delete this thing. I'm gonna nuke our precious box. Make the editor lag on me. And yeah, come here, come to my FBX, grab the crate LODs, drag it in. All the settings should be the same. Yeah, no smoothing groups, I know. It is sad, it is, I know. And so this is our new cube's default size. Our material, I'm going to suspect, should be fine, because our UVs are the same, and my editor is lagging. But that's okay. Our UVs are the same, the crate's good, everything's good. I mean, my editor's lagging, but that's okay. We've got an appropriately sized crate. It's not the crate's fault that the editor's lagging. I am sure it is OBS's fault again. But yeah, and that's a nice reasonable crate size. I might make it a little bigger actually. Maybe it should be like 1.2 meters, 1.3. A little taller. But you can easily change the size of it by default in Blender, or we could resize it here in Unreal. We can make it really big. Yeah. And since we, kind of went overkill and baked out 4K textures, it looks pretty good, even at this kind of res. I mean, it even looks so good. This kind of looks like the base of a tower, or like a house or something. It doesn't even look like a crate anymore. It almost looks like the outside of a wooden fortress. And you could use the same techniques we just used and then just scale it up. You could basically scavenge bits from our crate and use it to build a giant wooden fortress or a house. Actually, that's not a bad idea. I might just do that myself. But yeah, and you can create like variations pretty easily in Blender here. Or maybe you want to create your variations here inside a Substance Painter. You could just make like different folders, like crate 01, crate 02, crate 03, and then just have different looks, different amounts of damage, or stuff like that. There's a lot you can do with this, but I'm pretty happy. Pretty happy. Something else you could do, since we still have our crate base, we could animate this crate if we want. We could turn these panels into solid objects, maybe animate them. Maybe we just want a variant where there's no top panel so we can put things in it or hide in it. Something. We can make it so it breaks apart in an extremely realistic way, since we've already modeled it out of individual planks. We could take a plank and damage that plank if we wanted. That could be an interesting way to add variation. But yeah, I think this is the end of the road though for me and the crate. I like this crate. It's a good crate. Hope you like the crate you ended up with as well. Yours might just be better than mine if you worked a little harder, or maybe have a bit more talent for this than I do. But this is the end. Good luck creating assets in the future, young one. You have my blessing. Thank you.